Welcome back to Intro to Mass Media. Glad to see you again. Yeah, we're online today. And what's that like? What's this experience like for you? It's strange, right? It's strange not having me in the classroom. Isn't it, Kanaya? Don't you think it's strange for you too? Yeah, I hope I got that right. I don't even know. I don't even know if using YouTube is going to reverse my image and I'm actually looking at the other side of the room, and what I just did was super, super silly, not because I meant it to be, but because it didn't turn out production-wise the way that it should have. Yeah, part of the reason that I'm doing this, teaching class online, as we continue on with this final chapter before our exam on Tuesday, I'm teaching the class online so that we can learn limitations and also benefits of teaching online. And one of the limitations is flow, right? It's very difficult for flow in the learning process. It's difficult for me, for example, to be able to incorporate links into the video production like I would be able to do if I was in the classroom there. So that's a limitation, is flow. Things are very choppy when you're using online instruction and online communication and online mass communication, which is the way that we're studying online communication as we continue on today. But first, what I want to do, in part to make up for the last class and some of the rookie mistakes that were made, is I want to allow Kanaya, if you would, Kanaya, I'd like you to go back and I would like you to just name the links that I have. It's all the same email that you have, and name the links and then have everybody look at what the links are taking them to. And then everybody in the class can look at their notes. And so they can see Tim Berners-Lee, for example, when you bring up a photo, and they can remind themselves of who that is. So there's several links I'd like you to catch up. And now we get to an advantage of online learning, and that is Kanaya can stop this video while she's doing that. And that's something that you can't do in real time. So I'd like you to stop the video and go over those links. All right, now what do? I pause, right? I pause and wait, and now I'm going to talk to you again because she's started the video back up. So there's a disjointedness there in online learning that can be a benefit and also a limitation. I'd like to continue on by also next moving to the exam. I told you that I would say some more words about the exam. So the exam is coming on Tuesday. Kanaya is announcing, if she hasn't already, her exam review sessions. There are going to be 2 of them. One of them is going to be Monday night, and that's going to be a key for many of you. But don't forget also, Kanaya has the weekly review session, and that's a time to really get in there and ask her one-on-one questions for clarification. And so Kanaya is going to be able to provide that information for you in the sessions and help you score well on this next exam. You already know what the exam format is like. It's the same format. It's 50 questions, and you have 5 answers to every question. And don't forget, none of the preceding is a viable option. This is an exam that's not giving you throwaway questions. I don't want you to say, oh, that's just a question on the exam that never takes place in the answer, and so I really have 4 choices. No, I really want you to struggle with this material. I want you to try and sort through it in your mind in a kind of way that only you are capable of doing in answering that question that does not involve throwing out an answer. So you know what's coming. It's 50 questions, and it's going to be on the most recent 5 chapters in the book. This is not a cumulative exam. It's on the most recent 5 chapters, chapters 6 through 10, the final one being this one today, the internet and online media. So the exam is on Tuesday. All right, now let's move on to continue our final discussion of material before we take that exam on Tuesday. We were talking last time about online media as a form of mass communication, and we were making the case that traditional media are struggling with where their place is in the internet and online world. What is the role of television and radio and newspapers and magazines? After all, these are money-making operations, right? We've established that very early on in this class. Most media in this country are profit-making media. And so how is TV content going to end up on the internet when the internet is generally understood and expected to be free? How is TV content going to end up there and make money? And that's a hard question for radio and newspapers. So we're still watching that process unfold, by the way. And some online media like Facebook, they figured it out. Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company. Other media like Twitter have not. So one of the traditional forms of media is film. We studied film, and film when it first used the internet, it used it to promote films. It used to promote films. It was not showing films on the internet, it was promoting films. But that all changed with a film, and that film was called The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project was made by handheld cameras out in the woods. In fact, that in and of itself was a deviation in the way that films were constructed. But this particular film, after it was created on a low-cost budget by unknown producers, was put on the internet, and the internet community went crazy in reacting to it. Now, keep in mind, we're not where we are now with the internet, with it's so easy to share on social media. I'm talking about a much earlier internet before social media, where there were web browsers, the Netscape web browser that I talked about. That's the time period that we're looking at. So it was kind of hard still to interact and to spread your message to your friends. There were no networks of, social networks at that time. But the Blair Witch Project was the first to really demonstrate that film could have a different kind of role on the internet, that you could engage people. Later, the internet became a place to screen films, and we still do that when we watch trailers. But also it's a way for professionals in the field to screen films. And then, of course, we have YouTube. And what is really the difference between YouTube and film production? I mean, a lot of what you see on YouTube is in a film convention production kind of format. It's got a narrative that follows that format, for example, but it may not have the look and feel and the texture of film in a professional studio, but it's got enough qualities that what you watch on YouTube, it's just video anymore, right? It's moving video. And so the internet is a place, though, that has mostly focused on avant-garde films that are out of the mainstream. We don't see the Disneys of the world. We don't see the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayers. We don't see the Pixars, the really big companies putting their films on the internet yet, although who knows, we may see that later. Of course, films are on Netflix, you pay for them there, but I'm talking about first releases. There was a film that's known as the first big hit on the internet, was exclusively on the internet. I'm going to ask Kanaya to Google it and play it for you. It's only a 3-minute film. Kanaya, if you could look up, if you're over there, if you could look up the film 405 on YouTube. And I want you to check out this film. And this film, to me, this video, whatever you want to call it, it's on the internet, also has a lot of feeling and look and feel of video gaming. And certainly the storyline is very much like video gaming. So I'm sort of building a case in a sneaky way towards the end of class today, where I'm going to talk about media convergence, where everything's coming together. But this is an example of it right here. We have video gaming mashing together. It's no different from country music coming together with rhythm and blues to form rock and roll, right? It's not an old idea that we're studying the idea of convergence, but you're going to see that in the film 405. So I'd like you to pause this video and roll 405. All right, and now I just want to mention finally, before we leave movies behind, and movies' relationship to film is another great dimension of movies, as you can view them on the go. I tell you, I'm in New Orleans right now. I'm at a conference. That's the second reason that we're having class online today. And I saw so many people on the plane flight watching movies on their own phones. And it's almost like a luxury for airlines. If you had a nice airline when you were flying on one, a luxury for the passenger, I should say, used to be that you got the screen on the seat in front of you, so you had a way to occupy your mind during all those hours in the air. But now I don't even see those screens as being the first choice. I see people with the lady right next to me, she had one of those pop-out holders on her phone. She just popped that out, slid it in the back of the seat. It was a perfect viewing. It was right opposite her eyes. She watched the whole film on her own phone. All right, now I'd like to move on to aggregator sites. Aggregator sites like Reddit, R-E-D-D-I-T. Aggregator sites provide surfers, people using the web, with easy access to email, to news, to online shopping, and to other sites. That's what they do. They aggregate other information. Some aggregator sites like Reddit are simply listing the most commonly talked about things. So it's like the ultimate trending site. And really, anytime you see that word trending on Yahoo or wherever, that's another example of aggregation. It's putting together what are people saying that they are most interested in talking about by virtue of what they're talking about. And that's what these aggregator sites do. And they get much more mathematical, by the way. Google, Yahoo, AOL, They use algorithms. I know you know that term. You may not know how they work, algorithms, but they use algorithms from the aggregation of data to then track you down and try and sell you stuff. The moment I arrived here in New Orleans on my phone, I didn't type a single search word in Google. I simply opened up my Facebook and already there's like 6 different posts for restaurants in New Orleans. Truly incredible. That is big data right there. That is big data. I don't know if you know the term, but big data, you should know the term, and we study this in a lot of our classes in communication. Big data is really the way that online companies, including legacy companies that have online presence, it's the way that online companies are mining you for information every single day. Much of the information is personal. That's what big data is. Not just your height, not just your date of birth, not just your gender, also what you're buying, also what your habits are. When you go to look for a baseball score on your phone, where do you go after that? So there's a lot of information that's being revealed, and the potential is always there for information that you have stored that's personal, private information is being uploaded all the time. That's what big data is all about. In fact, Facebook and Google, they're not really known as social media in my field, communication. Facebook and Google's not known as a browser or a search engine in my field of communication. You know what those media are known as, those social media? They are known as the largest advertising agencies in the world. That's what they do. They simply advertise. That's what it's all about. It's about getting on Facebook and being exposed to advertisements, because at the same time, you're getting on there for a different reason. You're getting on there to, quote, share photos, to make comments, to give updates, to like other people's stuff. To see what other people are doing if you're just a lurker. And the same with all the other social media. It's the same principles there. To seek validation, right? I want somebody to say that I exist today by liking something that I do. In so doing, in that sharing, you're giving away your data every single day. In fact, there are people in my field that say there is a workforce on the internet that is unpaid every single day, that you, right now, you're working for free. You're working for free for Geico and Verizon and McDonald's and all the other companies that you're giving information to for free so that they can track you down and get you to buy something. All right, so we go into that quite a bit in my field, especially in a course that's called Critical Perspectives on Social Media. I'm teaching that course, Critical Perspectives on Social Media, over winter session. If you're interested, it's CMST 340, by the way, which helps with that advanced course requirement. That's just if you're really interested in getting into it's called political economy. It's the analysis of media strictly according to economics and politics, political economy. All right, I got a little bit away from things there. I want to move on now. I want to talk about video games and mass communication, because those are online as well. And the video console, what started to usher in the video game era as a connection to online media through mass communication, was the console. The console, PlayStation 2, had DVD in it. And also PlayStation 3 then had Blu-ray in it. So again, we're seeing more convergence here. We're seeing like video viewing platforms being merged with video gaming platforms. And then the Xbox 360 started to stream TV programs and movies while also allowing people to play video games. We have to also enter into the equation with video games. We have to enter Wi-Fi in here. It allows those handheld remotes to be used without having to have a cord and keeping you contained. It allows video gaming to take place where you're in one location and the network that you're tapping into is in another location, and in fact all the other users are in other locations as well. So video games have created entire communities, and especially contests, video gaming contests like e-gaming. We have e-gaming here at ESU where we have people that are competing, and they're in different locations. And that's what the internet allowed video gaming to do. It took it out of the household, right? It used to just be something that you could play on this giant looking boxy thing that was sitting there that you put a coin in while you're waiting on a pizza. That's what video gaming used to be. And then it moved into the home with really primitive consoles and Pong computer, where this ping pong ball is bouncing across and you've got 2 paddles that, and if it gets by, that's how you score a point. That's what early video gaming was. But when the internet and video gaming joined up, it became a form of mass communication with these giant communities out there. Video games like Grand Theft Auto 4 made $3 million more than the film Iron Man. I mean, that's truly amazing in sales. And I don't need to tell you this, most students are video gaming. It's not just males, lots of females. And when I listen to the literacy of my students talk about video gaming, they can say all the versions 2.0, 3.0, they know it all. So Fortnite continues to be the biggest video game, biggest gaming choice of gamers. And also we want to mention here, before we leave this subject behind, that gaming is as much a spectator sport on mass media as it is the gaming experience itself. And so we've got a video that's going to roll for that to demonstrate that. I hope I haven't missed the other links that are on there. I think there might be one that comes before this one of the limitations of online media, the flow, right? So, but I do know that we have a video that I want you to roll. It's a few minutes long that will show one person's pursuit of video gaming as a hobby and perhaps a profession. Let's check it out. Alrighty, so now I'd like to continue on. I want to talk about how the web as an online form of media gives individuals a voice. This is a radically different idea, moving away from video gaming, gives individuals a voice, like me right now. Like, I can't be in the classroom today, and yet here I am, because I'm able to record on my phone and then upload it using the hotel's Wi-Fi to YouTube and then share the link with Kanaya. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. And this is happening every single day with people FaceTiming, with people creating their own YouTube videos, people podcasting, people making phone calls. Yeah, just the phone call itself is putting people on the web. It's truly amazing. There's a former president of NBC, the national broadcasting company, NBC, former president Larry Grossman. Larry Grossman said that Gutenberg, remember with the printing press, Gutenberg made us all readers. They made us all readers. Radio and TV made us observers. Radio and TV made us observers. Isn't that interesting? Xerox, which is a copy machine company, so don't get too hung up on the word, but copy machines. Xerox made us publishers. And then the internet makes us all, what's the word that I'm going to use? Can you guess? The internet makes us all journalists. Now, that may not be a word that you expect a journalist, but it makes us all capable of private investigation, research, and publication of information that is expository, that tells people, hey, something's going on you need to know about because it's going to affect your life. That's what journalism is, and I think that's an interesting way to think about what the internet has done for us when it's provided us with profound changes like other mass media in this class have done. But also that means that the internet is a source of rumors. There's a lot of rumors going around. The whole idea of fake news is playing on that it's very easy to circulate rumors. There's a meme going around right now that shows that it's a headline of a news story. It says, a father of 3 killed. And then the photograph in the meme is of Baghdadi, the ISIS leader who detonated the bomb that committed suicide. And it's a political message that's in a way trying to make fun of him and is also at the same time communicating a kind of ideology, if you know that word. I mean, a way of believing. You can decide what that way of believing is. It's going to mostly tap into whether you are sympathetic to what happened, or whether you see the human life that was lost, or where you focus on the children, or whether you're politically inclined for the politics in the region. That's what journalism is all about, and it's allowing the individual to spread rumor at the same time, to make up something that's not true. That's not a true news story, and so in a way it demeans news. It's fake news. But overall, the web has provided us with what we can call citizen journalism. Citizen journalism, anybody can create information that is considered to be expository and is important to others, whereas important to them enough to know. All right, I'd like to talk now about the internet and society. The internet does permit the independent use of computers. When I get off here today, I'm going to start reading some papers that my students have sent in. It's going to be a private experience, except when I go to send those papers to the students. But largely, it's independent use. But we also have a situation where, in comparison to traditional media, which are produced only by a handful of producers. People who are producing TV shows and radio programs and newspaper articles, they're the same regular small group of people every day. It may seem like a ton of people if you're an average citizen, but it's a small group of people. In the internet, it's the opposite. It has everybody is producing something every single day. As I demonstrated earlier, every time you go on social media and type something, you're producing something on the internet. So when we look at the internet and society, we're really looking at uncontrolled information. It's impossible, in the most part, to control it. I mean, you can say, oh yeah, you can prevent certain kinds of content from going out on the internet. Well, no, you can't. That's what the dark web is all about. You know the dark web, right? That secret web. I've never been on it myself, but you can hire child molesters on there. You can you can arrange for assassinations. Uncontrolled information. That's the relationship between the web and society. Now I'd like to talk about the hacker ethic. The hacker ethic is something that we should consider. The hacker ethic you may think of as somebody broke into you and exposed some information or corrupted your system or gave you a virus. But really it was a spirit of rebelling against technology. And so the hacker ethic is summed up in a book by Stephen Levy, and it's the idea that people who like programming computers and using them to their fullest potential should be able to try and get in there and disrupt them. And so it's really a kind of challenge all the time. And actually at Apple, they have a hacker team. That's their job, to try and hack into their own product, and that's not unusual. All right, now I'd like to talk about the digital divide. The digital divide is something to be considered. I do know that I have a graphic for this, actually several of them, Kanaya. If you can look at the digital divide to help us envision what this is. Basically, it's the idea that there is unfairness in the way the internet content is distributed. Unfairness because some people are on one side of the divide, other people are on the other side of the divide. And the divide is created by economics, right? People who are poorer, they can't afford high-speed internet as much as people who are richer. So that's one thing that creates a divide. Then there's a divide between rural areas of the U.S. and cities. In the cities, you have broadband and you have faster internet service and more Wi-Fi, but in the middle of Iowa, out in the fields, you don't have that. Same with cell phone tower service. It's the same idea. And then there's the idea of a digital divide between Western countries and non-Western countries in Africa. And then there's a divide between racial ethnicities. Certain racial ethnicities tend to fall into income groups that have less advantaged access to high-speed internet than groups that are more privileged. You, by being virtue of a student at a university, you have a privilege of being able to access high-speed Wi-Fi. We have pretty fast Wi-Fi, and we take it for granted at ES. We even get annoyed when we're not able to log into it and not really thinking that there's this huge divide out there. And so these graphics that I have on the screen will illustrate that. So now let's wrap up with our final thought for the day, and we're returning to the thought of convergence, of everything coming together. I have some graphics for this, Kanaya. Convergence that will demonstrate all of these mass media that we've been studying so far in this class suddenly being compiled into the internet. It's so fascinating to study a book and then to study a magazine and a newspaper along the way, and radio and TV and film, and now see them all converging, coming together on the internet. Of course, it's not a free-for-all. You can't just go you can't go watch The Joker on the internet right now unless it's a pirated copy, for example. But we have so much convergence where everything has come together, and we really don't know what's going to happen, but we know that people are viewing everything on their phones. That's where convergence is taking place. Yeah, the laptop still has a role, tablets still have a role, the TV in your house still has a role, the big screen that you may have in a home theater still has a role, the television sets that you watch in a restaurant or bar, that still has a role. The big screen in a movie theater, that still has a role. These are all screens, right? We're living in a screen life. That's where the convergence is taking place, but nowhere is it taking place more than on your phone. All right, so that's going to wrap up today's class on online media. I'll be back in the room on Tuesday to administer the exam. Please get with Ganaya so that you can best prepare for exam number 2. And have a great day.